Rolling out with the break of dawn. Canvas skies and the show goes on. Iron stakes and the hammer sound. Building dreams on this muddy ground. With sawdust running through our veins, we do it for the faces in the crowd. Step right up with R&B, 'cause this ain't just a show, it's circus history.
That's greatness.
So I got one more clown question before we move on in your career. Um, what would be the fastest time that you've ever had to do your makeup and why from street clothes to full clown?
Makeup in under 3 minutes. And
Yeah.
at that point, um, Clown Alley always had some fun things. We called them morale. We would do things just to bolster the other clowns.
We've heard about this.
And quite frequently, the clowns dressing room was not in the. It wasn't always in the nicest of areas. They always tried to put us as close to the back door as we could be, so that if there was an emergency or close to a vomitorium, so that we could just run really quick onto the floor and help divert attention or help cover for a mechanical issue or anything that might happen out of the ordinary. Um, so. But one of the things that we would do for morale is different ways of putting our makeup on. Again, John Weiss, he put his makeup on with a mirror from an elephant blanket. It was
What?
literally the size of a nickel, and he used that little thing and did his whole makeup in that little tiny mirror. So a lot of times we'd have a couple of people and say, "Oh, come on, I'll race you, I'll race you, I'll race you. We'll see how long it takes to put your makeup on." And some people, they would try another John Weiss. He was going to do the world's fastest makeup, so he put black makeup on his pinkies, white here, or red here, white here, um, blue here, and black here, and he did this and went. And he had black under his lip, red, white on the top of the lip, uh, white his eyes, and black. So, and again, fun. He was never going to be able to go out on the floor with that. Frosty would have never let him do that. But it was just about having a sense of fun. And one of the things that we would do for morale was a race. One of the calmer, tamer things was makeup race. And you had to put it on, and it had to pass. So you had to put everything on, powder it, and a nose, wig and a hat, fully ready to go on the floor and start to finish. And then Frosty Little had to judge you and say, "Nope, all right, you could go on the floor if you look like that," or "No way." And
Wow.
I got to where I could do a pretty consistent 3-minute makeup for a race. Or if I ever had to, if I was running late, we all have those stories. All have those stories. Whether you were stuck in traffic, whatever it was, we all have those stories. Or you were sleeping between shows and you had a morning kiddie show and a nighttime show, and you fell asleep in bottom of a wardrobe box, and no one bothered to wake you up because they thought it was going to be funny watching you race around trying to get ready. But I could put my makeup on and feel comfortable about it in 3 minutes. So I'll say that it typically took me probably 25 minutes to 30 minutes, because I would shave there before, electric shaver, and then I'd put my makeup on, I'd have a cup of coffee, you'd be visiting and talking. So comfortably, it usually took me about 25 minutes to get ready and then slap everything on and run out the door.
How fast would it be now?
Now I got to fill in all the cracks and crevices and wrinkles. I don't think I could afford the makeup anymore. I put my makeup on. I guess it's probably been, wow. I have. There are other people who are on the show with me. Greg DeSanto, uh, Trish Manuel, so many others who still have occasions that they put their makeup on, and we do if we do a reunion or something like that, but it's certainly not frequently for me, and it's something I miss, and something that although I didn't enjoy slapping that white all over that thick goo on the back of my neck and in the middle of my ears, but it was. No matter what was going on in your world, no matter, I mean, good stuff, it's easy to work, but bad stuff happens, and personal stuff happens. Things happen back at home. People are ill. People are, and no matter what your day was like, when you came up and you faced yourself in that little mirror over your trunk and you started that process of, again, I don't want to say transforming because all you're doing really is just enhancing yourself, but you start that process, and with the first slap of that clown
Well,
white,
some people,
it starts,
well,
and you start building yourself up.
some people when they put on the
Go
makeup,
ahead.
they transform.
I,
So
Absolutely true. I
there
mean, some
is,
people, they do. They literally, and they become some of them have like an alter ego, and it's kind of like, to me, I think one of the biggest, probably the biggest differentiation between a clown and an actor is an actor plays someone else and
mhm,
a clown plays themselves.
yes,
An actor
yeah,
does whatever they have to do to transform into becoming someone else. Whereas a clown, everything he does should just accentuate and exaggerate their own self, so, and it's true though, I mean, some clowns felt like it was much more of it was more than just a visual transformation. It also, you know um, then kind of they became stepped into this character that they became when they put their makeup on. For me, it wasn't so much that alter ego. Again, it was just me, but it was it was like peaceful, right? And it was an anticipation. And it was, no matter what was going on in your life and your world, all of a sudden your world was about bringing happiness and laughter and joy to other people. And you're receiving their energy, just it bolstered you. And just like for them, I always said, being a clown, we gave the great best gift in the world to our audience, and the circus too. For 2.5 hours, no matter what happened when you walked in that door and you sat down, you forgot your issues, you forgot your troubles. And when you go back out, they're still there, but maybe you can look at them in a different way. It's like you can't find something in the refrigerator. You close the door, you lower 3 inches, you open the door, and you find it because you're so used to looking at something from one perspective that you lose
yeah.
that perspective. But when you get done watching the circus, watching the clowns, you come back to the same problems, the same reality, but hopefully you have a new way of looking at it. And that's what the way it was for me putting my makeup on. It was like, okay, all right, now it's about work. Now it's about bringing joy to others. I'll deal with my problems when I come off the floor at the end of the night. And quite often I had to deal with those problems. But again, maybe at the end of that time, I had a break from them enough that I could maybe see them in a different way when I had to get back to them.
I was gonna ask you, what was one of the hardest moments that you had to deal with, if you wouldn't mind sharing, over your 21 years of, because that's what we talked with a lot of performers, is that when that when that call hits and that curtain opens, it's a whole nother world outside that portal versus backstage.
Um, uh, so I won't tell the top story because I can't do it without crying.
Okay.
Roger
But
that.
I'll tell you one. I'll tell you one. My first year on the show. It was the second year of the tour. The rodeo route, we called it at that time, and we had, again, circus was new to me. Was new to I. I didn't come from a circus family. It was new to me, but the circus became my family. And in the end, I ended up spending more time, close time with my circus family than I did with my
Right.
brothers and sisters and mom and dad and that family. So, you very quickly come become close with everyone. And you
Yeah.
may
Oh
not,
yeah.
yeah, right. And you don't worship the same God. You have different political beliefs, you have different beliefs, I mean, there were people literally my first year on the show who at home their countries were at war killing each other, but at the circus
Yeah.
everyone worked together. And if you were valued for your worth to the community, and everyone was important, right? I mean, the train crew, the workers, the working men,
Backstage.
everyone. I mean, if you didn't get something swept up, someone was going to slip on it and maybe lose their livelihood for the rest of their life. So everyone was important, and everyone was a part of the family. And you, like I say, didn't always get along, but at the end of the day, you always fought for each other and you fought for the family. So, within by the first couple of weeks of rehearsal, you're all in this boiler room of okay, do it again. Okay, do it again. Okay, start over. Well, that didn't work. Let's try it. So you really quickly become bonded. The last show, last day of the season, we were in Cleveland, Ohio. We didn't play downtown. We played out in between Akron and Cleveland, and between shows, we had an afternoon show and an evening show. The afternoon show, one of our aerialists, a beautiful young aerialist, Cindy, went up to check her rig, and she was a single solo trapeze artist. And something happened. Who knows what happens? But she fell, and
Oh,
she fell, and that she didn't wake up. Um,
look at that.
so right off the bat, you're like your culmination of your very first year on the show, the all of the new experiences, all of the wonderful things, this whole family that you have met and fallen in love with, and right before the last show of the season, you lose someone. I mean, lose
Right. Yeah.
someone, and the it was crushing, but it was like all within minutes the sense of family took over instantly. And all of a sudden the yes, there was sadness, and yes, there were tears even as you were heading out on the floor, but the overwhelming sense of, this is for Cindy. This is for Cindy. We're doing it. She did what she loved, and she did it her and until she couldn't do it anymore. And that sense of community and family was felt throughout the entire year, from the very first day when you're brand new and meeting all these family, to that last day when everyone came together and was there supporting and working to heal each other. That was an incredibly hard, tough, difficult thing, that if it weren't for that circus family, and the love that we had for each other, it would have been devastating.
Yeah. On a flip side of that, what would be your most memorable crowd reaction or interaction?
Oh, yeah, there's so many. One of these days, I need to like write down a bunch of stuff and pick like the best story, the best of those things. But truly, another like high point would be like the clown car, performing the clown car, and being my first year on the show. I was the first guy in, which meant I was the last guy out. And as the first guy in, I I went all the way back in there and was hunkered down and laid sideways in a kind of an L form. Two in, and the next to the last out was Nasty,
Oh no.
Kevin. who was a dwarf clown who was well loved, but he lived up to his nickname, Nasty, and he was literally like spooning. He and I were spooning back there in the clown car, and he loved beans. He loved,
Oh no.
he loved tormenting everyone.
Oh,
So to say all that to say that that was my last year as the first person in the clown car. After that, every time we did a clown car, I drove. So I was the last guy in and the first guy out. And I will tell you that another time when an audience knows what's coming, they don't know exactly how it's going to be delivered, but they know as soon as that clown comes, as soon as the clown car comes in and starts circling around, they know that there's going to be a whole bunch of fun coming out of that clown car. So to drive that car all the way around, spotlight on the only thing in the arena, knowing that every eye is on you as you go all the way up the track and come back in and pull into the ring and honk, 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 and you open that door and you step out, it's like, here I am. It's the most wonderful, fun feeling. Everyone is loving it.
right
Um,
on.
I got to work with truly incredible people. One of the other fun things that I got to do quite a bit was I worked with Mishu, smallest man in the world, and he truly was amazing and tiny. It's one of those things that, and he loved the clowns. I mean, clowns, were some of the people that helped him drive overland. He was always he always had his own dressing room, but he was always in Clown Alley because he had a lot of friends in Clown Alley, and. But every time he came in, like he'd walk underneath the table to get to the other side. And it was like every time he stood next to something different, you'd look over and you go, oh my God, he's shorter than that chair. It's, oh my God, he's shorter than that. I mean, it was like every time he came in or was around, there was no way getting around it. He was tiny, he was minuscule. And I got to do a couple of different walk arounds with him. One of them, it was the mom and the kids all look alike, and Mishu, and at the same time we had Shondor and Elizabeth, who were another Hungarian midget couple who were a little bit bigger than Mishu, but were still quite tiny. But all three of them, I had a big baby carriage. All three of them were in there and with looking away from the audience, and I was out there pushing the carriage, looking away from the audience, and then we'd stop, and I'd turn around, and I had the beagle puss nose, the big bushy mustache, and a cigar as the mom. And then all three of them would turn around, and all of them, they had the big baby bonnets, but they all had the beagle push nose, the furry mustache, and the cigar. So another fun thing, I just was working with all of the incredible clowns, Richard Fick, Tom and Tammy Parrish, Greg DeSanto, Sean Conklin, I can't start naming names because I'll forget people and I'll hurt my own feelings because there's not enough time, but
Yeah,
just
roger that.
some incredible, incredible people.
What is your most memorable moment as a clown that you're proud of? And then we're going to move on to your other career as the circus.
Uh, was doing it was doing events, doing special events for children's hospitals,
Very nice.
doing touch tours for the blind. Those were the things that were just like they weren't just gratifying because people were laughing at you, but they were satisfying because you were making a difference in and just your presence alone. And I think most clowns could probably tell you that they've had stories where the mom or the nurse would say, you know what, we've never seen him smile until today, or even, we've never heard him make a sound, we've never heard him say a word until now. But now you're here in your presence, and it was one of those things that you're always used to getting the laugh, but it's wonderful when you get that sentimental side too, when you see that difference, and just as exciting but even less happened less often was going into a senior home and seeing the same thing, because truly I don't know what it is, but the older we get, the younger we are. And to go into those nursing facilities and nursing homes and senior centers and see them light up for the first time in days and in months and in weeks was just as internally like satisfying and gratifying as being in front of an Madison Square Garden filled with people.
Wow. So,
Nice.
what was it like your last show as a clown, and then what was your next journey into the circus?
um, about during my 14th year, I had an opportunity. So let me tell you this first of all. As a clown, you see everything. You're on the floor more time wise than anyone else in the show because you're between numbers, you're out there in case there's an issue, you're back and forth. And so you see all these things, you have all these great ideas, you have all these great suggestions for how you could make this better, or man, if we could do this, this would be better. And but no one's asking a clown their opinion on how to run the show. So I had an opportunity to first of all step in. We called it the unit communications coordinator, which sounds a lot better than yuck, which is what the letter spelled. But
That's
and
awesome.
and and what we did was the unit communications coordinator um, became responsible for not setting up the PR and marketing for the show, but handling it from the unit standpoint. So, how many times did a promoter say, "Oh, I'm going to send 14 clowns to this such and such station, and you're going to do this, 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 and this, and then we'll have the flying Walendas will come in, and we'll do this, and we'll have that, and the trapeze guys," and it's like, okay, that sounds really, really wonderful, but we can't deliver that. We can't make that happen. So as the unit communications coordinator, it was my job to go to work with the promoters, to work with the publicists, to work with with all of those teams, those other teams, and help them develop and build and say, okay, this is what we want, this is what we know, what to come in. And I could very, very politely and knowledgeably say, okay, this is how we can answer and create your vision. This is how we can actually do it and support it and make it look incredible so everyone's going to be happy. I also dealt a great deal with, at that time, with the animal rights activists.
Oh boy.
I was a liaison at that point. So kind of the face of the circus for that, so to speak, for that unit. And I had the time to focus all my attention to those things. So because that was my position. So I feel like I went from no one's ever going to ask me for my opinion to a position where I could start working on ways and potentially adapting some changes here and there and doing things that truly would make the circus better for the performers, for the audience, for everyone involved. And that was the only reason that I retired my rubber nose for a radio, because truly I missed performing. To be on the show and to stand backstage and watch the clowns run out. There was a time or two, that I might make a little guest appearance here or there, but truly, I had that opportunity to make some difference, to offer my opinion. So it was a sad day, but at the same time, it truly developed into a wonderful career.
And you said you
Yeah.
were
And all your
general
travels,
manager?
what was your
No, never, never general manager. But I was always on the performance side, and I laugh at that because it's like, oh my gosh, you talk about a thankless position. That general manager got to put up with all
Mhm.
them yahoos running around. Not only the circus yahoos, but the building yahoos and the police yahoos and the so I was a performer, and I did the unit communications um, coordinator. Then I went. Assistant performance director. The performance director was what later became the production manager. And then then the roles changed. I was production manager on the red unit, and then back to the blue unit. I but started out clown, went through all those local management, always on the performance side. And then finally, my last position on the show was the director of talent.
Okay.
And all your travels, what was your favorite town, if you were, or place you visited?
Oh, wow. Okay, least favorite. That might be
Uh,
Okay,
easier.
that's
all
easier.
right.
I'm gonna guess Jersey somewhere.
Waco, Texas.
Waco.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
you would think Waco, Texas. You know what?
Wow,
The performance area was was paved, was concrete, was cement. As soon as you walked out the back door, dirt. Backstage, wardrobes, dressing rooms,
really?
everything
Oh man.
in the dirt, and like
Oh wow.
Little Rock, Arkansas, the clowns dressed in the pig barn down the hill from the arena. When I started again, now there's a beautiful big arena, but we played the fairgrounds, and we were in the stalls, but we had a blast doing it because we were all in it
Oh
together.
heck
And yeah,
yeah.
there might be a little grumbling, but we were having fun. You slapping the white makeup in there, and you look up, and it's like, oh, and a fly is stuck in there. You got little footprints on their makeup there. You got to start over.
Oh no.
But that was I don't ever need to go back to Waco. I don't ever need to. I'm sorry if you're from Waco because there's some really wonderful things there. But as a clown and the circus, I don't need to go back. So, but loved playing Madison Square Garden. Loved playing Boston. Loved, oh my gosh, the Texas dates. We had so much fun. And it wasn't only because of the venues and the cities and the attitude of the people who were there who just like adored you, but it was also because, when we were in Houston, one show a day because of parking at the arena, one show a day. And at my first year, we always did 2 shows a day and oftentimes 3 shows a day. So, I mean, it was when you had like a one show day for a whole week, and we were 45 minutes away from Galveston. And we had, when we were in Dallas, we had Six Flags. So those Texas dates
Oh
were
yeah.
hot, but we had so much fun. And Southern California, I mean,
Oh, the
those
tacos.
buildings and those cities. The food.
Uh,
I mean, yeah,
Well, I
I
went
will.
to I like California, but I went to the redwoods while I was there. That was
Oh,
nice. That was amazing.
playing the San Francisco area and all that. It's just, yeah, there's too many favorite cities to choose any one. So
so you said you moved into
I heard
finding talent, right?
yes, yes, and I also have to say in there, um, I also met my husband, so who came in as a clown many years later. And so, one of the neat things about the circus and the family is quite often it's not just an assumed family, but quite often those circus people become real family. And
oh yeah.
I can't even count the number of children and grandchildren now from people who met from starting my first year on the road, a clown and an aerialist, or 2 acrobats, and who are now families, and a lot of them are still carrying on their family circus tradition, and some of them not. Some of them are out in the normal life now. But just so many connections were there, and I'm incredibly grateful that I met my husband on the circus. So, and as I stepped into that director of talent position, I was learning from and working alongside Tim Holst, who was an incredible mentor, not only because he started out as a clown as well, and then stepped into management on the show, and then into the vice president of talent. Working for Tim again, I hired Todd Zimmerman, Tamaya Zimmerman. Tamaya's an acrobat from Hungary who came over with this chalet troupe, an incredible, talented group. They fell in love. Now they've got 2 adult daughters. And it's like so. Just wonderful, wonderful circus tie-in, a family tie-in, and as a gentleman who who started, bringing people over from all these different places and all these different worlds and bringing them all together and seeing them again all work together, all have a good time, all enjoy each other, all create what truly is not just in the name, but truly is the greatest show on earth. I mean, it was um, an amazing time of meeting unbelievable people, professional people, of travel, of incredible food and sights. But the greatest thing was just building relationships with amazing people.
So, how would you find entertainment
Wow.
for the circus?
For the circus, you never knew. I mean, we would go to street performer festivals. We would go to in the Ukraine. We would go to sports schools. You just never knew where you were going to find. And by the time I came along, I mean, computers aren't and the internet isn't quite what it is today, but it was busy. And at that point in time, uh, everyone was sending their information too, and you would have agents who would send you material, but you'd also just have performers who for the first time could put their videos up, could put their images up. So and they were also seeking employment. So, and Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey was the top. So I mean, we would get a lot of tips and videos from producers and agents, but we would also just get a lot of people who were just interested in working for the greatest show on earth who would send us things. So, and again, I mean, you had just watching, see what's new. It wasn't always about trapeze. It wasn't always about, all of a sudden it's about you know, a new form of dance. It's about a new Brazilian fight craze. It was how can we take this, how can we take this skill and bring it into and bolster and help tell our story in next year's edition of the greatest show on earth.
So,
I got kind
uh,
of I guess I got a two-part for you. Um, what is something that would instantly get your attention during an audition? And then what is something that is a deal breaker no matter how talented somebody is?
Okay, I'm a clown. I love comedy. I love funny. I love looking at things from a little different angle. So even in your most incredible, dangerous high wire act, where they're jumping from shoulder to shoulder, where they're doing that forward flip, where back flip, you can basically see the wire the whole time. You do a forward flip, as soon as your feet leave the ground, you can't see the wire until your feet hit the ground again. I mean, it's like, or feet hit the wire. It's like, I mean, there's some really incredible stuff. But if when they get back over here after you have been so tense and caught up and they made it and now you're happy, but if they do some little thing where they look out and make a connection with the audience and do some little funny little quirk or something, and it just makes that connection instantly. Those were the things I was looking for. Skill is incredible and absolutely necessary, but you have to also be a performer. You have to know how to connect with the audience. The thing that I hated the most was to go watch an act that would be absolutely stunning. A lot of times this happened with new acts, and there were festivals that just featured new artists and new acts, and you'd go and there would be unbelievable skill, but they hadn't yet figured out how to make that connection and make it personal with an audience. You've got to have that too. So I would say that I always looked for not only that incredible skill, but their ability to connect with an audience and to make the audience not only gasp, but smile and maybe even laugh a little bit. So, and the one thing that you've got to do, I don't care how good you are, if you can't be nice, if you can't get along, right?
Come
I
on,
mean, it's
Roger
like
that. Yeah.
the greatest performer in the world, the greatest, if they can't get along, if they can't survive around other people because they just can't stand other people, it's like, why did you get in this business in the first place?
Yeah.
Because
I'm just gonna
no
make that
matter
a
how good,
miserable.
yeah, if you don't have an audience, if I don't care what you do if you don't have an audience. So
Yeah.
that was a big thing too. Is you've got to, and a lot of times I won't say that we had some incredible performers, and yes, some of them. I mean, they might be hard to get along with. But I also, we had performers who were hard to get along with, but it was because they were trying to get things done correctly, trying to get things done right. Not, they weren't maybe just bolstering themselves up, but they were, their motive was good, and at that point, it's okay. You can put up with someone who's maybe a little harder to get along with when you understand that their motivation isn't selfish. Their motivation is, if we do this, it will make us all better.
Yeah, especially if they're hanging 30 feet in the air. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh boy.
we all got stories.
So once you get these
Oh yeah. I bet.
leads, you would go to these countries and these places and do auditions. How would that work?
And most of the time, I mean, I wouldn't call it an audition. Most of the time, like I would go see a circus, or we would go to Moscow, and within the city of Moscow, there are three big circuses. So we would go, and we would go to this show, we'd go to this show, we'd go to this show. We'd see who was there. Quite often, we had, even if it was a director or leader from that circus, or someone that we knew in the country who would reach out and say, "Oh my gosh, the Moscow State Circus has this great performer now. I think they'd look great on your show." So we would have things that we were going to go see intentionally, but we were also, it was just about exposure. It was about seeing the big shows and the small shows, and just trying to see what was out there, what was new, and what was unique. One time, was in Simferopol, Ukraine, and beautiful old circus building. Had been there a couple times before, and the lights go out, the whistle blows, the lights come on, and two huge, fat men come out. And I mean, they're like no neck. I mean, they're like big, massive. And I won't say they were blobs, but almost. And these two 300 plus men did a act with telephone poles.
What?
They're like tossing them in the air. They're spinning them over their head like a baton. At one point, they crisscross poles. They stand shoulder to shoulder, and they put swings on the ends of these poles. And they get ladies from the audience, four of them, and now they're walking a little tight circle, spinning these. It was so grotesque. It was like I was. I'm like laughing. I'm in awe. I'm in
Wow.
shock. Then they come out and do a second act where they did a hand to hand act. I ain't kidding. They did a hand to hand act, pushing up all this stuff. One guy with his arm out like that, and the other guy standing out here. It's like they did a full
Wow.
Jeez.
on, great hand to hand act. But they're like, you would 300 pounds each plus, and it was like, we've got to have them, we've got to bring them back, they're going to be fantastic. So to start that process from that point of, and this was a surprise, this wasn't someone that we went to see hoping that we could make a deal with. This was someone that was like, oh my gosh, I have never seen that ever in my life. That's at first time ever, and it's nice to bring those kind of things back home and say, this is the first time you've never seen it. Yeah, you've seen hand to hand balances, but you ain't never seen these guys do this. I mean, this is so, it was fun to start that relationship, to build that relationship, to then come home and then to talk to the producers, the director, and say, "Oh my gosh, I saw this," and the questions about, are they too grotesque? Is it too much? Will the audience, and just working through that whole process of, from meeting the performers and falling in love with them and knowing they're going to be great for our show, and then coming home and selling that idea and working and say, okay, well, what if we can do this? What if we do? to seeing them then finally come to the show and be featured in the circus, and to watch our American audiences fall in love with them as well. That was just what an incredibly satisfying feeling.
All right, so I have to ask, did you get the hand-to-hand 300 plus guys?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I had to.
Yep. They yes, they came and they were on our show. They were on our show. So yeah. Yes.
Okay.
That's how many. So how many countries have you been to?
Uh,
All.
I again, I need to sit down and make a list. I can tell you that my passport, I sent it back and had more pages added
Oh
three
wow!
times. Three times. And
Holy
then I
cow!
finally it expired and I had to get a new one. But three times I have a passport that is three times thicker than everyone else's, and it is full. It is full
Oh
with
my goodness,
stamps.
that's
And
amazing.
I can tell you that um, I mean, every place that I went, now I'm trying to make plans to go back and visit them again.
Right on.
This is one of those, no, and I'm not going to get sympathy for anyone whenever I say that I visited Paris 6 times before I ever saw the Eiffel Tower. So I
Oh
mean, it's
wow!
like, okay, most people don't get to Paris. So again, I'm not going to get sympathy, but you would literally, my task was, it wasn't to sightsee, it was to get
Sure.
in, get a job done,
Yeah.
and not, and be a good steward with the company money and the company time. So I mean, I would go in, I would see the airport, the chapeau if it was in a tent, or the building if it was a facility. I'd go to dinner, and but even those dinners were usually, depending on where we were, they were either with a performer, or if you were in the case of Russia or in China, it was probably with even like a head of state. Whether it was their local
Oh wow!
government, a mayor, or literally someone from the military who was there, from the entire country, and then to the hotel, and then back to the building to finish up or try to do a little more business, and then it was to the airport and on to the next city. So i i I fell in love with so many places and so many people that now I try to go back and just spend time enjoying those places,
Sure. Yeah.
and meeting some of those people again, spending more time with some of those people.
Yeah. So can talent be? Can you have raw talent be shaped, or do performers have to come in arrive ready when they come to
all all of all
audition?
of the above, all of the above. One of the things, we had the opportunity to build and put together some acts. So most of the time we would hire an act that was an existing act, and then we would work with them, we would coach them, we would costume them, we would theme them, we would work to edit their act down so that it was just the best parts of the act. In Europe, a lot of times, I mean, an act might be 18 minutes. Well, unfortunately, we're not looking for 4 18-minute acts. We want to fill that time with as much as action and as many acts as we can. So we could pare it down and edit it and get the absolute best out of it for our audiences. But on occasion, we did build acts. So in that case, we would look for performers, we would look for the talent, and we would work with them. And they weren't always like just ready to jump on the floor and perform. That was all part of building that act and developing that act. Was about building their personality, building their ability to work with other performers in that act, and develop them. So it was a little bit of both. I got to do both. There's some certainly in like Russia, those circuses, they'll develop an act for 6 years. They'll actually, those performers will be practicing for 6 years and never be in front of an audience, but they'll be housed and paid to build and develop that act. So that was one of the benefits of us going over and seeing these acts as they were just coming into, coming out of the rehearsal process into a final act. And we were able to, and then of course we would negotiate with the Moscow State Circus, and the performers got a salary, but so did the circus. So we were helping support their school and their coaches as they're building new and more acts, because they have the time to do that, whereas we don't really have the time, to do that. That's not who we were. We weren't, other than a few handful of times. Our goal was to present incredible acts, not necessarily create them from the ground up.
All right. I'd like to
Oh,
back up real quick.
cool.
Sorry. What was your feelings and thoughts when Clown College closed?
Oh man. Um, uh, for a brick and mortar institution of Clown College, where so many of us went through it, um, you know, it was a great loss. One of the things I will say is Clown College. It wasn't years long. It was 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks. I mean, it was, depending on what year you went, it was a very finite amount of time. And during that time, um, everyone brought their specialties and their skills. I mean, no one became a master juggler just being at Clown College in those 6 weeks, right? I mean, they some of them were brilliant jugglers, and they just didn't have any place to perform, so they ended up coming here. What we learned during Clown College was a language. We learned how to communicate with each other. We learned how to work with each other. We learned how to take people who had different strengths and skills and put them together, and when they worked together they were better and they were funnier. So just because you graduated Clown College didn't make you a good clown. There were some brilliant clowns that came out of Clown College, and there were some people that just didn't. It wasn't their thing, right? There's room for all of us, but not all of us are going to be clowns. So it was a horrible miss. It was as I stepped in to the position as director of clowns, or sorry, um, director of talent. Um, One of the things that we started doing was we started having a clown college. And we would do that in Rosemont in Chicago. At the end of the year, we always had this chunk of time, and also like usually in Boston on the other show, where we would have a period of time. We would bring in a bunch of potentials and hopefuls, and it was so short. It was so quick. There was no way to do anything other than to be able
That
to
was like a week long, right?
assess how well. Oh, or 2 weeks at maybe 10 days at best. It was awesome when we were in the Chicagoland area, because frequently we would go to Baraboo, to to um, to to Circus World, and we would, Greg DeSanto, and we would, have outside guests and speakers. Same thing in Chicago. Sometimes they would come in, but it was an opportunity for. Um, it's not even a boot camp, but it was an opportunity for us to see, okay, this kid does really good. They're funny. They have a funny way of looking at things. They have that quality, that little bit of a star quality. But having them there, you could see right away, um, how they worked with others, if they got along, if they were, had a modicum of talent. And then, even at the end of 2 weeks in Rosemont, Illinois, you would know, okay, that person's not happy. They're first time away from home. It's not going to be. So it was, at least we tried again to teach the basics of a language so that they could at least communicate with the other clowns in the alley and get an idea of what it was like to be on the road before just throwing them out there with no training. And I mean, it's like it's critical, because again, just because you're really, really funny and great at home, it doesn't always translate into the real world. So I truly missed clown college. At some point where we had a rumor that one of the Uppertons made the comment like, well, we've had all these graduates from clown college, so let's just start pulling some of them back in. But that's not even a reality, right? Because people have gone on and are doing other things and have stepped out of the performing world altogether. So, not sure exactly why and what the decision processes were when they decided it's no longer critical, no longer, you know, worth it to pay all this money for it. It wasn't an inexpensive thing. And just because, you might only hire 6 or 7 clowns after training 50 people. So, there were numbers and all that involved. Bottom line, I am blessed and grateful that I was one of those guys that was at clown college that that did well enough to get a contract on the show, that fell in love with being on the show, loved every minute on the show. I was there during a golden time period there in the 80s of Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus. Unbelievably blessed. The Feld family, incredible as stewards of this company. And people will have lots of things to say and lots of opinions, but the truth is we never would have survived this long. And the things that they did for me personally, and performance wise, I'm eternally grateful to all of them.
All right.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm taking this opportunity to
Oh,
just say
this
that
we're not sponsored. So
everything about my time. No, but everything about my time on the show, and we all know people that came on the show and just absolutely it didn't work. They just were miserable, right?
yeah,
And
Yeah.
couldn't wait to. Some of them stayed too long, and decided that they weren't happy being miserable themselves. They were going to stick around and make other people miserable too, right? You know them, you worked with them, so
Oh yeah.
it's and I'm not pointing out any one individual because there's a whole it's a whole category of folks out there, but it was my time. I was just, I mean, fun start to finish. Good times, bad times, ups and downs. And at the end of it all, it's like, man, if I had the opportunity to do it over again, I would start back at 19 years old on the blue unit and go all the way through.
nice. Well, I got a
I think you
two-part
On
meant
the
to said red.
train,
I think you meant to said red unit.
you know, on the train,
best unit.
they used to on the vestibules, they had the signs on the vestibule steps, and it on one step it says, "If you can't be for it," and on the next step it said, "Don't be with it." There's a lot
Oh,
more ways to make money. There's a lot more ways to make a living.
Yeah.
And if you can't be for it, don't be with it. Don't feel bad
There
about
you
it.
go.
Find something you can be
Yeah.
happy doing.
I got a two-part question for you.
All right, B.
So, oh, I lost one of them. Go ahead. Or
All right. So with the thoughts on the school closing, I have another one.
oh,
What were your thoughts when the news got out about Ringling shutting down?
Oh boy. The show was 145 years old.
Yeah.
Every year for 145 years, a show went out. Every year. And to be around when the time came that they felt it was necessary to pull it down, it was it was a shock. I mean, it was surprising. It was there had been rumors and all that, but it was truly I was sad. But I also, and at that point I was gone, just barely. But I also, in my heart of hearts, knew that this couldn't be the end of this institution, in this family's care and stewardship. I mean, there's no questioning that every year it got more and more expensive to produce. I mean, the
Well, yeah.
train itself,
Yeah.
what
Oh
a
yeah.
what an expense. When my first year on the show, our route made sense, and we had buildings and arenas that they made their salary, their year, off of the 2 weeks that we were in their town. And because we were one of the things that filled an arena at that point, there weren't that many huge concerts and all that filled massive arenas. They were in smaller theaters. They were in, and some of those theaters weren't small, but they weren't as big as those arenas. Well, as it went on, there were more and more things that competed with the family entertainment business, such as the truck shows, the huge mega concerts, and all of a sudden those buildings, they were like, well, yeah, well, you guys can come here, but we also have the opportunity to have so and so come in, and we don't have to suffer the smell of elephants for 3 months, and we don't have to suffer putting up the rig and pulling it down and putting it up and pulling it down. We just got to set up a stage one night, and this lady comes out here and sings, and she makes more money than you guys do in a month. So it's like, I understand the world changes and things change, and I understand that it reached a point where they made changes all my career with the circus. There were little changes here and there to try to make it more, financially feasible and to try to keep the costs down as they kept rising. And I think it just finally got to that point where to really fix it, they couldn't just nickel and dime it and couldn't put a band-aid here and could do this. To really look at it, to really fix it, to really try to transform it and make it into something that, because again, if you're not making money, I don't care how good it is, it can't survive.
Yeah.
So I think that I never felt like it was going to be closed and gone away forever. I always felt like they're going to close, they're going to reorganize, they're going to figure out a new way of doing things, a different way. You can't say better, because who knows until you actually try it, but a different way of operating, a different way of looking at things. The other thing is audiences change. You can't keep doing the same thing. You can't. Time rolls forward, audiences change, people's thoughts change. You have to kind of, you want some nostalgia because people like nostalgia, but you can't base your business on nostalgia because you'll lose all the new people. So, I feel like they came to a point in time where they decided we're going to have to radically do something, and this is our best opportunity and way to do it. So it made me sad, but I never felt and never believed that it was gone. I really, at that point in time, really felt like it's going to come back, and when it does come back, it's going to be a new vision, and again, you never know if it's going to be better or whatever, but it's going to be new and different, and hopefully, well thought out and put together for a new future audience.
So I have a two-part question for you now. All right. First one is, where do you see clowning in 2026? And do you think that we need a clown college again?
Um, I see clowning. I mean, clowns are all around us, in makeup or out of makeup. Clowns have had different roles, from the court jesters, from even predating court jesters. The cavemen were sitting around, and the guy reached down and got the soot out of there, and painted something on his face and stood up and fell over backwards and made everyone laugh. Right. Then, as the clown became more a mirror on society, let's say, with the court jesters and otherwise, where a clown could do something so silly and huge and blown out of proportion that it was funny, and only later did you look back and realize, he's making light of a serious situation. I think clowns are critical, and again, they may not have a big rubber nose and a big yak wig, but they're going to be around. They're important. The clowns in the circus, there are many circuses that still have more traditional clowns. There are also circuses that are built around a clown image or a character, that the clown is certainly doesn't look anything like the Ringling clowns of the 80s and the 90s, but yet they're still poignant. They're still funny. They're still bringing laughter to the audience. Hopefully, they're still provoking some thoughts and ideas. Clown College coming back is for Ringling Brothers. I don't know that they need for that. However, a clown college in general, and there are a lot of smaller groups, whether it's universities or seniors or local clown clubs and organizations, or Trish with Mooseburger Camp.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's important. I think it's important because a great deal and a great part of clowning is knowing what came before, so you're not reinventing the wheel. Clown time rolls forward. There are different sensitivities, so it's I think it's kind of important to even like clown college. It wasn't about an instructor telling you what you have to do. It was about a group of people, instructors, coaches, and the students all coming together, sharing ideas, melding ideas. And I think that's critical, whether it's local or on a bigger scope. A place to come together, and clown college, if you will, where ideas are shared, and ideas and thoughts are fine-tuned and honed, and have someone else to bounce your ideas off of instead of just rattle around inside your own head, and having a place where you can actually build it, put it together, rehearse it and practice it, and then actually get a chance. And as funny as you think it is until it goes in front of an audience and they tell you it's funny, who knows? So in those ways, I think a clown college is always going to be important and critical. To the circus, I don't know. I don't know that it I don't think that it ever has a chance to be what we went through and what we grew
Oh no,
from
of
and
course
started
not.
from.
Oh no, of course. I meant more in general.
Before I
Do you think that there should be one just out there for like,
Absolutely. And there are a lot of people who want to be better. And that's what a clown college should be for those people who want to be better, those people who love the idea of clowning. And, like me as a kid, I had an idea about what funny was and what a good look was. And it was only when you look back and you see what I ended up as, and I look at those early photos and it's like, oh my, let's hope those don't get out into circulation. But absolutely, I think it's critical and important for there's a place for people who want to learn, want to grow. They need a place and the talent to teach. So yes, I think it's critical.
before I ask my next question, I do want to give you a quick. I love the shirt you're wearing. I love the back. I love your whole setup, the Hawaiian look. I see all the lays up there and everything. I love it, man. I just
Okay,
have to put that
so
out there.
this the tiki mask in the middle. This is a tiki bar in our home, but that mask was done by a brilliant chainsaw tiki carver, and that is a blend of my makeup and
What?
and my husband's makeup.
Nice.
So over here, this this little painting, of course you
Ah,
got the globe, but that's I'm the white face and my husband Tom Wheaton is the August clown. And this was
nice.
actually a photograph. We never worked together on the show as clowns. I was the production manager when he was a performer on the show. But and then another fantastic clown, Dustin Portillo. He actually is the one that created this, that painted this, that drew this. So anyway, yeah, the now my life. I love the circus and love hanging out, but now my world is more about uh, travel. It's about tiki. It's about Lego. We've built another tiki
Nice.
bar, an entire tiki bar out of Lego, and take it around to conventions,
Wow.
both tiki conventions and Lego conventions. So it's yeah, my shirt. Uh, I'm on the pocket. Um,
Nice.
let's see, we've got a funny story. Some company in China took the images directly out of the program and printed them on fabric. And
is
Cecily
Uh,
Conkling is on here as well. Here's
is
Sean.
Toto
But
on that?
Cecily's mom showed up. Toto's not on this. This was
Uh
I'm trying to think if it was Toto. Yeah, Toto was on the show at this time, but these were all taken out of the Blue Unit program. So they literally took the Blue Unit program and pulled the images out of it and printed all this fabric and started selling it. And Cecily's mom shows up backstage one town, as she frequently did, and she's wearing a jumpsuit made out of this fabric. And it's like, oh my gosh, did Ringling make that fabric? And she's like, I don't think so. I don't know. So, we reach out to the brand team, which there was no such thing at the time, but to the marketing team said, "Oh my gosh, this fabric is great." And they're like, "Where did you get that? That's not legal. That's not." So it was a
Hmm.
race almost. The clowns started searching for this fabric, and Cecily had found it at like a remnants store in Texas. But we finally found this company in New York that had imported it. And so we bought a couple of bolts of it, and then we called legal and said, "Hey, did you know that this stuff is out there?" So anyway, we several of us had shirts and ties and all things and curtains and everything made out of this wonderful clown fabric that was completely and totally illegal. And but some of us got some nice stuff out of it before legal stepped in and did a cease and desist.
Wow. Well, what I was gonna ask you real quick too was, do you think that there'll ever be another circus train?
No, no, wouldn't it be great though? I mean,
Oh, that'd
right?
be oh, it'd
Uh,
be fantastic.
oh, and yeah, again, in the grand scheme of things, there was such a minuscule amount of people that got to experience and love those train runs and living on the train, right? I mean, it was truly one of a kind, forced downtime. I mean, when I went on the show, there were no cell phones, there were none of that. So when you got on the train, it was relaxation time. You cooked a little bit, maybe you ate a little bit, you visited with other people, but it was downtime. Later we had cell phones, and then they started, what's this? A satellite dish on the train? You can watch TV on the train? I mean, all these new things started coming around, making life on the train a different life, but still incredible. You didn't get to escape on that day off as much because you could still get that phone. But the train, what an incredible experience. And an experience truly enjoyed by very few people in the grand scheme of things. But man, I would love it. I
A
think the
reunion
the
run
trains now. I think it's a.
Oh wow.
have to be
Wouldn't
10
that be
miles
amazing?
long.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
wouldn't that be amazing? I mean, the longest privately owned train in the world, right? The longest privately owned train in the world. So, I mean, I think these other. I don't know if that's still the truth or not, but it was an amazing part of our history and part of my history.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, what's nice is the car I lived in is like maybe 45 minutes away from me.
Are you
The person
kidding
who owns
me?
it. I kid you not. Yeah, I
That's
went up and visited him. It was amazing.
the one of the clown cars is up at Baraboo, and we get I had maybe a year ago, a little more than a year ago, we got an opportunity to go up there and walk through, and it's just like there's so many amazing memories, so many stories, so many people, just amazing. Not my first year, but probably my third year, I had a 50-gallon fish aquarium on the train in that little 3 foot by
Oh,
6 foot room.
What?
wow.
Yeah. And ask Chris Allison to tell you the story about the time that it came crashing off the wall in a train run
Oh
when
no.
I wasn't there, and it flooded his gaucho and room. And yeah,
Oh.
that's a story for another time.
Oh my god. Yeah, yeah. Oh wow.
Wow. So, all right. So what are you doing now?
So truly now, I'm retired. When I left the circus, I went to work for Walt Disney World here in Orlando, um, and was an entertainment manager there, working various places. Most of my time spent at Magic Kingdom with the shows and atmosphere team. I still go back now a couple of times a month. And help cover positions when they have either event season comes in and they need people to help cover rehearsals, that kind of stuff. So I still dabble in entertainment in that form. And now it is about um, uh, a passion for tiki and Lego and family. And that fills my time. We're getting ready the next couple of weekends here. Actually, we have a tiki convention and a Lego convention coming up that we'll travel to, and we'll take our displays and the things that we've built and show them off there. And it's a wonderful, again, the circus community is an amazing and diverse community, and the Lego and Tiki communities are just as diverse.
Nice. All right, folks. Well, we're getting to the end of the show. So, with that said, I'd like to thank our viewers and listeners at home. Before we go, is there a piece of advice you could give any of these young up and comers who want to perform or do any of that stuff?
Have fun, enjoy it. It's hard work, but if you're loving it, enjoying it, it will go by easily. Um, Never think that you have learned it all and you've done it all. There's always more to learn. There's always more to do. Everyone has valuable information. Listen to it. You may like it, you may not, but always listen to it. Always accept it, and just grow and keep pushing your art. Keep having fun, and keep growing, and don't stop.
Right on. You heard it there, folks. And before we go, if any of you guys see these guys out here in the Tiki and Lego conventions, give them your love, man. Tell them the
Please.
guys at Off the Rail said hi. So, with that said, once again, thank you everybody, and thank you for coming on the show. And until next time, we'll see you down the road.